On Friday, the 7th of January 2005, the city of Carlisle got a devastating wake-up call just before midnight. The three rivers which flow through Carlisle all burst their flood barriers and inundated the city centre under 2 metres of filthy, muddy water. Rescue services were alerted in good time, and all day long on Saturday people were being rescued from the upper floors of houses and taken to emergency accommodation centres in the higher levels of Carlisle. Following 3 days of non-stop torrential rain, the rivers were already at a dangerous level. Then, when gale force winds arrived in the evening, combined with a very high tide in the Solway estuary, the rivers could no longer contain the flood, and it spilled over the banks and devastated the city centre. What was usually a peaceful country park where people could walk with their children and their dogs became a frightening, noisy, raging torrent with paths under 6 feet of water. The trees and logs left behind on this riverbank showed the water had been at least 1 metre higher than this during the night. And this close to the water, standing by this weir, I could feel the ground tremble beneath my feet due to the tremendous weight of water pounding over the weir. The floods were also a tragedy for farm animals, and many of them were drowned during the floods. As the storm subsided, it was good to see the sun trying to get through, and the constant roar of helicopters in the sky confirmed the gravity of the situation for the thousands of people now homeless. The Army, the Navy, the Air Force and the police had to work night and day without rest to cope with the unending stream of frightened people being carried from flooded buildings. Cafes, restaurants, garages, all inundated and all devastated. As the skies cleared, things were better for the helicopters, but there was no stopping. They were working continuously all day long. Here in Shadongate it was quite eerie, because Shadongate's usually crowded with traffic, noisy traffic, and here there was a strange silence apart from the sirens and alarms which were going off, set off by the failure of the electricity supply. It was good fun for dogs and children, despite the tragedy for the homeless people. Help came from many sources, and it's hard to understand where all these boats suddenly came from, but they certainly came through the night, and they were rescuing people all through the hours of darkness and all day Saturday. Here we had boats sailing down streets which were normally crowded with traffic. How could a city change from a thriving metropolis overnight into a flooded disaster area? This is the main road north out of Carlisle, and that was responsible for cutting us off to the north, as we were cut off from the south at the other side of the city. I mean, who would expect to see a Coast Guard vehicle 10 miles from the sea and working in the city centre? It's more like a film set than a Saturday morning in Carlisle. Here are some girls being rescued from Corporation Road. They've been in an upper story all night waiting for the rescuers to arrive, and they're sure glad to be on dry land again. There was lots of help from the canoe clubs in Carlisle. There were canoes all over the place. They couldn't carry a lot, but they could certainly paddle into places where the bigger boats couldn't get, and listen for people calling for help. And all this was done voluntarily by the people and without payment. There was a tremendous response from the whole population. The civic centre and the police station were put out of action quite quickly, and it's amazing that all these services got their act together in the way they did, in view of the fact that there was no police station, no fire station and no civic centre. The floodwater flowed out of Carlisle almost as quickly as it arrived, and here's the civic centre being pumped out in an attempt to get the civic services back to normal as quickly as possible. The firemen started the big clean-up as soon as the water subsided. On Friday night at bedtime, this furniture was looking comfortable in the homes of the people as they went to bed. On Saturday afternoon, after 2 meters of water had entered their homes, the furniture was all thrown out onto the pavements, ready for the garbage collectors. A heart-breaking experience for the unfortunate residents, all within 24 hours. We have been given a wake-up call to show us where the globe is heading. The ice caps are already melting. Is it too late? And what about our children? What sort of world are we going to leave for them? Flooding is a warning for the planet. This is a warning for the globe.